welcome to Digital Shift, also known as Corporate Evolution Tales. Join us as we dive into the dynamic world of digital transformation. From illuminating case studies to captivating narratives, we uncover the stories behind companies' journeys toward digital excellence. Whether you are a seasoned corporate leader or an aspiring innovator, our podcast explores the shifts, challenges of modern business evolution. Hello everyone, this is another episode of Digital Shift, aka Corporate Evolution Tales, and today my guest is Bill. Bill, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your experience of digital transformation. How are you?
I'm well, Mariam. Thanks for having me.
Amazing. Okay, would you like to present yourself before we will dive to the main topic?
Name's Bill Douglas. I'm the CEO of OpticWise. It's an American-based company that does technology, including digital and data infrastructures for commercial real estate around the world. So your topic
Amazing.
got my attention.
That's great. Okay, and let's start from the general question that I'm usually giving as a kickoff of this podcast, and it's what are your thoughts on digital transformation? What is your understanding of it?
Basically taking analog systems, old school systems, maybe they had data, maybe they didn't, and then converting them to digital where they're either manageable remotely, that they generate data that could be used to operate more efficiently, or they're just more effective on a broad application. So instead of needing 25 applications across a portfolio, maybe you only need one.
Agree.
So it is a massive cost saver. A lot of people are scared of it because privacy issues, scared of digital.
Yes.
And I think that's a misnomer. There's been a few bad actors, that I think most of the industry really wants it to succeed, and the ROI is substantial.
Agree. You mentioned about two topics that I would like to ask. One is the fear of digital transformation for the companies. So that will be my first question. And the other one is about the cost. And again, I think we can connect it with the fear because a lot of companies, they're afraid of the cost because like how it will go and how much they will spend on digitalizing processes. So do you have any thoughts on that? How we can prevent the fear of employees of that change and also the companies because of the cost of the change?
Well, I'll address the second one first. The cost, if digital is done right, it should be an investment with a return. It should not be an expense. If it only is an expense, you shouldn't do it. I advocate that. You shouldn't buy or spend money on digital just because it's digital, or just because you're going to get some data, or just because it's on a screen now instead of a notebook. You should only do it if there's a return on your investment. So that's not a high bar. You set the return. Like, do you want it back in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah.
Like we deal with commercial real estate, and some of their assets have a 5-year return. Some of them have a 15-month return. They set the bar. It's their money. They're allowed to set the bar.
Yeah.
So the other question, I believe you, was around privacy and adoption, or did I miss the question?
Yeah.
You should ask when you digitize who owns the data and who controls the data. You should always ask that. In our world, it's our world being commercial real estate. It's critical, but rarely asked. But you should ask it about your personal digital interactions. You should ask it about your business digital interactions, and read those policies. Don't just scroll down them and click them.
Yeah.
A lot of the answers are in there. And if you don't want to read it, don't click yes. Use a tool to read it for you, to summarize it. There's simple AI tools that could do that. Say, summarize this in 4 sentences for me, or call the company and say, explain this to me. But don't sign up for it, because it's very hard to unsign up for it. Once you click that button, you're in, unless you open a whole nother account. So you control your privacy. A lot of companies want to use you. If it's free, it's probably not free. You're probably the product. Old story, if you're not paying for it, somebody else is monetizing you or your business. So you should hold the high standard of privacy is my privacy, and it's important. So don't give up on it.
Yes, agreed, definitely.
We publish an ultimate privacy policy. We don't collect user information. We only collect system information, and those systems are owned by our clients. Nobody owns another person. So we don't collect personal information, and we publish that. We're proud to publish that. We don't distribute it. We don't monetize it. Any personal information we're not allowed it. You will be terminated from our company if you ever collected a person's information.
Agree. And I think with the companies that are supporting digital transformation, it's so important to have that understanding how to treat the data. For example, our company, we basically went through the ISO certification, gaining the knowledge of how to use the data and how to protect it, specifically when working with customers. And do you think that the companies that are helping or supporting with digital transformation, they should have that kind of knowledge and being able to properly communicate with their customers, basically, on all that stuff?
They should, and they should absolutely have processes to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
Certifications can be of value in certain markets, and others they will weed out the best companies because of the cost factor in getting certified, as you know. Like an ISO 27001 is very expensive to get. It's very good, but if you required that in your RFP versus just requiring privacy and control of data and show me the processes, you are weeding out a plethora of very, very good vendors that just don't want to play in that market because it's millions of dollars outlay. If you do anything at scale, it's very, very expensive. I have a client going through it now, and they're spending $300,000 to get their ISO certification. There's a return on it for them, though. Their insurance drops and their tenant base goes up. But they're not just spending $300,000 to hang a certification on the wall.
Yeah, for sure.
Like we do the same exact certification in-house without spending the $300,000 and can show you the processes. So if you're comfortable with that, you could save a lot of money, but you still have to ask the question.
Yes.
Don't assume it's okay.
Agree. Yeah, 100%. And while speaking about these kind of processes, do you think that there are specific processes or stages of digital transformation for the companies?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think it's an ending process. I think you have to have, and we write about this in our book, using AI along with data and digital strategies in an old industry. Commercial real estate is definitely stale relative to technology, not relative to buildings. They built great buildings, but you have to embrace that as part of your culture at your company to be digital forward. If you think about a new process or a new product or a new service you're going to sell or a new internal process, it should be digital first, and that starts with the culture. So it's really not an ending process. It's a very efficient process. Companies that embrace digital can charge less and make more than their competitors. Yeah, agree. Definitely. And with these processes, I think when starting digital transformation or even being with it within it, as you mentioned, like it's not ending process. Do you think that there are specific challenges that you can highlight for our audience to be aware of? The biggest challenge is just the team, the employees embracing the change. Whether you're in the team or commanding the team, there will be pushback. People, it's inherent. We're humans. We don't like change. It makes us scared. I don't know how to do that. Now I have to go learn that. Our mind can do scary things. So change management's a whole industry, and it really comes down to find a way to teach it to your employees and make them want to do it. Not force them to do it, but make it fun for them and encourage them. So that really is the biggest impediment to widespread digital adoption is at the human level, human change. I know how to do it this way. I file this way. Why are you making me file with my mouse? Or why are you putting an AI tool in there to automate the filing of my records? Why would I do that? Well, because now I don't want to get rid of you. I want to use you for other things. The best use of our spend as a company is not to pay you, Mariam, to file papers. It's to pay you to maybe create more stuff for our customers because they're asking for it. So that's the biggest impediment we see. And the second one would be cost, but cost is perceived as an expense. If you can categorize it as an investment, then the cost goes away, and put it in a budget. Maybe you don't have to buy it right now, put it in next quarter or next year and document the return on investment. Then your shareholders and your board, your managers, your boss, anybody you work with will understand why the company is doing it. Agree. And but if I don't understand it and I'm working at the company, the first thing I think is, oh, this is bad. Yes. So I just have to put it in the framework of, no, this is good and this is why. And this is why we're doing it. Yes, I'm so happy you mentioned about specifically the why and the communication with the people, plus them being afraid of that change just because they don't understand it. And usually when we are speaking about digital transformation, employees in the company that is starting this process, they think that they are doing it to replace them. But as you mentioned, and I will agree with that it just not to replace people or like the employees in the company, but just make their work better quality and more productive probably. So will you agree with that? I never want to get rid of somebody. I would like to avoid hiring the next person. Yes. Like if we could do more with the same number of people, that makes us even more awesome. And I think most operators of businesses think that way. I know there's some bad actors out there, but most of the time they're just trying to figure out how to get the company more productive without having to hire more people, because people are expensive. So
Yeah.
if you can be more efficient as a business, then you get more market share, you get more customers, you have more longevity, you make more money. Businesses aren't there as a charity, they're there to make money. So, and digital is a huge tool in doing that. But we just happen to focus on digital implementation for one industry. It's the largest asset class in the world, but it's not the largest employer in the world. It's just the largest balance sheet. And every single industry you could pick or you could be in is going through the same digital transformation. Commercial real estate's just a little slower. Banking and finance was early. It was easy. They had all kinds of reasons to do it. Now and then you might look at manufacturing or construction or delivery. Look at how much Amazon automates and uses digital around the world. They could not have done this 25 years ago without all the digital they have. They couldn't deliver something to you across the world within a day without digital. So, I mean, our lives are better because of it. So
definitely.
Sorry, I got on a little rant. This topic makes me excited.
No, it's very, very interesting. And I think our audience loves when it's basically just sharing the experience and the way of how guests are actually understanding everything. And looking back, what are some key lessons or like insights you gained from your past journey with digital transformation?
Hands down, every single time that it's finally implemented and working, you never really get to the end because it's constant improvement. But once the big, this works, everybody has a smile and says, oh, I get it now. I get it now. So they like it once it's there. It's the implementation process and the change that's painful at the personal level. And because the business is forking out money to do it. So when schedules slip, that causes pain. And when they're finally done and it's closed, it's a big smile. So then people start thinking, oh, we did this, then we can do that. And then we can do that. Well, if we have this data and that process is already digitized and automated, then why don't we do that over here too? They start looking at different parts of the business. And I love it when the people that are actually doing the work have the ideas, because those are the best ones. Not the ones the managers think up or a consultant thinks up. The ones the people on the ground actually know are good. So we spend a lot of time when we do an implementation with a customer, talking to the people that are actually doing the work, actually talking to their customers. In commercial real estate, that's the property manager, that's the building engineer. Oh, that's the people that are sitting there looking at the tenants, not just people that are sitting in an office looking at the numbers.
Yes, agree.
So the more people you get involved, the better the success rate is.
Yes, definitely. And you, before we started this podcast, you mentioned about the challenges that there are specifically in your field, right? Because of the technologies and all that stuff. Is there any specific technology that you're excited about and that you think that is supporting the digitalization of your field?
I'm finally seeing in commercial real estate, I'm finally seeing the acceptance of IoT devices, the Internet of Things, like a device. It used to be a thermostat on a wall and somebody would adjust the thermostat. Now the thermostat is not only adjusting what a computer somewhere tells it to, it is sending all the information to that computer. It's everything from temperature to humidity to time of day to density, even, if you're looking at occupancy. And not very long ago, a few years ago, nobody wanted that much information. They just wanted a thermostat. And I'm just picking one example. So the adoption and the acceptance of sensors all over their property. Another great use of sensors is leak detection. When a large building has a leak, especially an apartment building, if that person's not home, the only way they find out about it is until the water leaks down to where somebody lives.
Right.
That might be one level, might be 5 levels.
I mean, we have that system, by the way, in our house, and it helped. It saved our money, definitely.
Yeah. So it saves everybody else below there having water all in their apartment or their office, right? And that reduces the insurance rates for the owner. So everybody wins. If their insurance rates are lower, the rent doesn't have to go up next year by as much. Because everything's going up all the time. But if they can find a way to keep the rates down, the tenants benefit. So I would say that in our field, the actual adoption of, yes, you can put those sensors in our building has been a big, big positive change. And then you have to deal with all the data coming out of it and who owns the sensors, how does it flow, and am I going to talk over wireless or wired and what radio frequency? And we deal with all those later. Just the acceptance of, yes, I'd like to know what's going on in my building. Is a huge step for our customers.
Agree. And with the data, I think we won't skip this question of the AI. Is there any kind of tool or anything that you're using based on the AI that is supporting your work there?
There are so many data collection tools, and I'm not a data collection expert. We should probably have one of our engineers on the phone to do this with me if we want to talk about how we collect the data. But just the premise of who owns your systems and who controls your systems. I know we do this in real estate, but you can do this in any industry. And who owns your data and who controls your data? Because sometimes you hire a vendor to handle something and they control your data, but you have to make sure you actually have it. You can get it whenever you want it. You could use this data over here for a different system. And maybe this data actually helps this system. They work together, not against each other.
Yeah.
So you need to own and control your data and all your digital systems. And if you don't, then you have a weak point. Maybe you choose to have a weak point because it's so cost effective, but at least recognize it. And if it fails, what do I do? And if I get rid of that vendor, what do I do?
Yeah.
So those are some of the main strategic points we talk about when we talk about digital strategies.
And you mentioned about the book that you wrote. So do you think it will help your field to understand better that digitalization and generally the understanding of it?
That was the whole intent. And Fast Company thought we did it so well, they're going to publish it for us. So not to boast, I was happy they said, yes, we'll publish it. We took real world examples from more than a decade of doing this. The company's been around for more than 2 decades, but specifically data and digital, more than a decade, and shared them with people in an analogy that's relative to sports, but we have 2 mythical characters in the book and we tell real stories through them in a way that's not all technical. It's meant to be, the building engineer could pick it up, the owner could pick it up, the property manager could pick it up, the leasing agent could pick it up, the asset manager could pick it up. Anywhere any of our clients have a role, they could pick it up and see something of value to them without being so scary technical. I have a stack of data and digital books on my desk, and I don't understand half of them. And I went to Georgia Tech and I went to MIT, and I understand technology, but they are so far over my head. It was frustrating me that there's not a simple way to explain this to the people that are not technical, but they're dominating their industry. If you have 30,000 apartments or 50,000 apartments or 100 office buildings, you're doing well, but technology scares you. So we addressed that problem and tried to make it super simple, not easy, but straightforward. It's very detailed. It's very particular, this process, but it doesn't need to be daunting. So that was the whole intent of the book, was make it simple.
Okay. Very exciting. Very exciting about.
And run your business, manage your business. You don't have to understand how it's working. Work on your business, not in it. Get somebody who does understand it, and then work with them. Simple business management premises, but our industry is a bit different.
Yes, for sure. I think every industry has its specific things that it's cool that you are able to explain them in easy language or like the understandable way, so people are actually getting the knowledge proper, and you don't need to have specifically technical knowledge to understand like the solutions that there are for that field.
Well, we give away the playbook on how to do it yourself. You don't have to hire OpticWise to do it. You can hire somebody else, or you can do it internally. We genuinely believe that if we can get more companies to do this, the whole industry will improve. So rising tide raises all boats. And the book will be out in bookstores and on Audible in June of 2025. And it's been things we've been doing for a while anyway. It's full of success stories. We share numbers and we share non-numbers. Like if you do this, you do that. And then there's a whole section about, imagine if you had this data and that data. What could you learn from it? Like people say nothing. It's like, yeah, you could. What if you could really get over here? Like you could go, if you have first and second base, you could get to third without needing third base data. You can correlate that from first and second. Maybe that's too far in a sports analogy, but you already have the information. You just don't know it. And once you know it, it's like, the lights came on.
Yeah.
Because they're all trying to keep their expenses down, and they're trying not to increase rent anymore, believe it or not. Landlords don't want to increase rent because it affects their vacancy.
Right.
Right? They want to keep rent where it is and keep the tenants they have. And that's a very challenging thing to do since the pandemic. Costs have gone up and occupancy has gone down.
Yeah.
So you can address both of those with digital strategies.
Definitely. And I think this will be my last specific question, and it's about the advice that you would offer to other companies to take into account when starting their journey of digital transformation. So what will be your suggestion there?
It needs to come from the top and explain to the whole team, why. And you have to be transparent You're going to make mistakes. You can't hide behind them. It has to be transparent and trust and involve everybody that wants to be involved in the company. Like some of the people that have the best ideas are the ones that are just excited about the topic, and they're excited about it because they're not scared. So they're not scared because you told them why we're doing this, and you told them what we're going to get from it. Like how we're going to do it, we still haven't figured out yet. We're going to digitize this to get that, but we don't know exactly how we're going to get the data yet, because that means pliers and wires and connect to a physical device to get some data. Maybe that's too far in the weeds for them, but if they had this data, then what could we do with that? Start asking a lot more if questions, and then you will see this whole topic of digital blossom into something extremely valuable to your company.
Yes, agree. Awesome. And I think just to wrap up, is there anything else you would like to mention, Bill, before we will end this episode where we discussed so much about digital transformation?
I'd just say, if it's just like my data comment, everybody's doing it. So you need to, and you might be fine right now, but in 2 or 3 years, you will slip against your competitors, because trust me, they are doing it. But they're doing it because it makes them more money, not because it's cool and it's not a fad. It's not going away. It's here to stay. It's been here for quite a while. It's just becoming more cost effective and easier to implement now. Before, only big companies or tech forward companies can do it. Now any company can do it. Yeah, I'm a believer in it.
Amazing. Okay, well, thank you so much for being today's guest and for sharing your knowledge in the digital transformation field. Thank you again.
All right. Thank you again. Appreciate the time.